Welcome to Swimming with Sepsey, where we break down various life topics, bring on inspirational guests to talk about their lives, their experiences, and encourage you to swim through your own inner thoughts, emotions, and feelings to inspire a change within you that will hopefully lead to an outer change in your own personal reality. I ask that throughout this episode and all future episodes that you come with an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to look at yourself in a different way and to look at the world in a different way. I'm grateful for each and every one of you that is tuned in this current moment, and I look forward to sharing many more moments with you. And with that, let's dive on in. Dude, we're killing it.
We're one.
We are one. I have a song called We Are One.
That's cool. We should throw it in here.
Yeah, I'm actually in this episode, like just right after this.
Yeah. We are one. We are one. Always.
Or just like a short
love,
clip.
Y'all? It's good like that. Where's
No,
the love,
it's
y'all?
like
that.
we are one. Always. Forever one. We are one. And then there's some other lyrics and stuff in there, but that's like kind of the hook.
Bro, you can't sing to me because then it'll freaking get stuck in my head all day. Like yesterday was like one word and it's just like over and over my head. The intro to the song, the intro
to the podcast.
It slaps. You know?
Dude, I had so much fun making that.
Yeah, that's dope. Turned out really
for
good.
those that don't know, that's actually me humming, and that's all my voice. I'm sure you can actually tell the you can kind of tell my voice, but yeah, that's made by yours truly.
Nice. Do you auto-tune that?
I think that one I really just used like a little reverb and like a filter.
Damn.
Otherwise, I already have that. Om.
What's crazy about Om is like you immediately start to feel it after you say it. Mm-hmm. It's crazy how powerful Om is.
So, we're going a little off topic. First of all, welcome to Swimming with Sepsey. I haven't even said that part. Yeah. But a little prelude with your host, Josh Sepsey, and co-host, Nicki Tomaszewski. But to your question, Nicki, you know the reason why you can feel Om? It's because Om is actually one of the sounds that we can produce using all aspects of our throat all the way up to our mouth. So there's like a bunch of different tones that you use. Mm-hmm. So like starting from the like that's your deep throat, and it goes
That's crazy.
To your lips. So like it's said to encompass the full range of ability of our mouth and throat to be able to make sounds.
Jeez.
That's why you feel Om so strong. That's why it's the sound of the universe, they call it.
I wonder how they figured that out.
Probably just from chanting it. That's actually a great question. I don't know like the origins of Om, like where it was created from.
It probably came from like India though, right? You think they were like the first ones to?
Probably it is a Sanskrit word.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we could look it up right now, but we'll save that when we talk about music and frequency. Okay. We'll have that information ready for you.
Cool.
And if you're listening to this and you want to Google it before we get there, do it. More power to you. Anyways, today's topic, what we are topicking about. God, sometimes I can't help these dumb dad jokes.
You're gonna be a great dad, bro. You're gonna have like your kids are gonna be on their toes.
They're gonna be. I'm
God.
so excited. I can't wait to be. I'm not about to be a dad, but in my future, I can't wait to be a father. We are discussing mushrooms. One of my favorites. Not only psilocybin mushrooms, where we get trippy.
My favorite. Sorry. Just throw that in there.
Oh, gosh. Yes. But we're also going to not break down, because I'll be honest, I don't know, like, the science of it. So a lot of the times I'm speaking straight from my personal experience and things that I've heard. So like I said earlier in the intro, keep it with an open mind. Do your own research. Always do your own research. I'm not over here saying I'm a mycologist that studied this stuff for like 10 years. If you want to know a good source, one of my favorites is Paul Stamets. Please check him out. Follow him on Instagram. Listen to any of his podcasts. I think I'm just kind of like promoting him right now, but his like Host Defense, I think, is his brand. For mushrooms, all his stuff is like, he grows it himself. His lion's mane is really strong. So we're also going to just touch like benefits of mycelium in your garden and all this kind of fun stuff with medicinal mushrooms, as well as our, what some of us who dive in the realm and swim with the psilocybin mushrooms. Every time you hear mushrooms, you're like, wait, tripping mushrooms? You don't ever go to think like, oh, we're going to eat like portobellos?
Yeah, no.
Like, you mean like stuffed mushrooms?
Yeah. My mind never goes there. Those mushrooms have left my mind a long time ago. Right, after I discovered all the other types of mushrooms out there.
Tell us one of your favorite mushroom trips.
Ooh. Well, I used to live in Flagstaff. So I think one of my favorite mushroom trips was when I was with my friends, and it was like a super blizzardy day in Flagstaff, and I took like, I think 3.5 grams.
Okay, solid dose.
Yeah, it was a solid dose, and
that's a good over the hedge tripping dose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that experience, I think it was one of my favorites because, like, I had like a solid trip with my friends. I'm not always able to get there with my friends, like, especially around some other people.
Okay.
Sometimes like, most recently, like, whenever I've done mushrooms, I've either done it by myself or, like, someone I know I'm, like, gonna be, like, really close with.
Yeah.
But, yeah, anyway, so we're, like, in Flagstaff, and we're trying to find this labyrinth, because I kind of came up with this, like, not a plan. I didn't have a plan, but, like, I was like, hey, guys, like, while we're tripping, like, an intention. I was like, there's a labyrinth I've heard about. Like, let's go look for this labyrinth in Flagstaff.
Oh, God.
Dude, I know.
Continue.
And then it was so fun, bro, because it was snowing, and you couldn't see, like, anything. And, like, we were just traveling. Have you ever seen Ice Age?
Yes.
Bro, it's like, maybe I'm on my way. I swear that was us, bro. Like, literally traveling through the snow, like... That's exactly how it felt. Like, it was such a good time. We're like, I don't know. It was just fun. We were listening to Outkast the whole time, too. That was a good vibe. And Lana was actually there.
Nice.
For that one, too.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
Shout out Lana.
Shout out Lana. But yeah, dude, it was really fun. But, like, other mushroom trips that I
Wait, okay, hold on. Did you find the labyrinth?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Sorry, my mind, you guys, I'm always going on tangents.
I'm like, bro, did you, like...
Okay. No, it's actually hilarious. So, I wish I could show you guys a photo. Maybe we can, like, upload the photo on the video or something.
Oh, yeah, we can cut to it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, we actually stopped at this, like, little cave, and we see, like, I don't exactly know what it was, but it was, like, a Native American, it was, like, a little...
It was like a shrine, like,
it looked almost like a shrine, but it was like this little like
kind of place.
It looked like that. It looked sacred. I didn't know what it was, but it was like made of like these sticks, and like it had like nice little threading on it and like beads and stuff on it. I don't know what it was, but it was really cool.
It was like some honoring or some offering.
It looked like something like that.
Did it look fresh? Like, did they have just placed it, or was it like old?
No, it looked like it was like freshly there. Yeah. And so anyway,
we're talking like freaking. These droppings are an hour old.
Oh, inspecting it. I know, dude. But yeah, so anyways, we like stopped under this little cave. We saw that, And like we had been out there for like hours already, and it's super cold.
Yeah.
And we were just like, dang, dude, like I don't know if we're ever gonna find this labyrinth. Anyways, we just like go on our trip, had a few other things happen, but the next day after we weren't tripping anymore, we went back, and the labyrinth was literally right above that cave where we were, and we never saw it. Wow. But it was covered by the snow. We couldn't see anything.
Couldn't see it.
Yeah. So it was weird because we were there.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
You had made it, but didn't make it.
But it's all good because we had like, it was fun anyways. We just
mushrooms
had, like, a nice
take you on
trip.
a journey like that.
Yeah. It was cool.
I like that. I think that says something. It's kind of like, you know, you go on a mushroom trip, and although you have this intention, like a lot of times if you're not on a mushroom trip and you do something like that, you're like bummed out. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we didn't make our goal or make it to the labyrinth. But like you guys were like, all right, well, we saw something cool, but like we still had a really good time. Like, it doesn't care if we made it to the labyrinth or not. Mm-hmm. But technically we did because you guys went back and saw it. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I've had similar. I mean, I want to ask you because you said also solo trips. Mm-hmm. And that's one of my personal favorites. Like I've done, you know, trips with friends, and those are always fun and things like that. But near deep in my heart is always the solo trip.
Me too.
What was like your favorite solo trip? What happened?
So, actually, I was at my house, and I know my mom watches this show, but it's okay. It was beautiful. Like, if anything, that's the take. Like,
nice.
It's beautiful, and it's like I'm getting in touch with myself and like my soul.
Yeah,
and
important.
like the intention that I had. So, like, I used to trip on like acid and stuff too, and that would always take me like I've had like trips where I didn't have a good time, and I was like lost mentally. Wasn't grounded. I was just, perception was like super negative. But anyway, so this was one of my trips like where I had taken a break from like psychedelics, and then I came back and I was like, okay, I'm kind of only gonna start like taking mushrooms. I feel like mushrooms, like, because that trip that I had with my friends, I was on mushrooms, and all the other trips were pretty much like LSD, and then it'd be like kind of negative. So I was like, okay, let me try mushrooms. This is natural. Like, I know I'm gonna be like safer probably taking it than like I know I'm gonna be like
some synthetic made LSD.
Tripping for a long time.
Yeah, I mean they make it's based off of nature, but
it
do
is.
Make it,
Yeah,
it's different.
So, anyways, I took like some mushrooms, and I was literally setting another intention. I prayed before I did it, and like I had a whole like conversation with myself before I took them. And then I remember just like laying down on my floor, and like before I think I had like cried and like released some things, and then like as I was coming up too, same thing. I kept releasing stuff, and then I was like looking up at my ceiling, and then all of a sudden my ceiling just starts opening up to me, and I'm like, oh, here we go, and I just like open up my heart, and I just remember being like getting those thoughts of like, because I was really worried. Like I had come from like getting lost and being like, okay, I don't want to lose my head again. Like, I want to really just be, like, centered with myself. And then my intention was, like, I want to, like, get to know myself. I want to know my strength. Like, all these things about just, like, being, like, whole and, like, being, like, able to be, like, here for myself.
Yeah.
If I, like, go negative or something. So then as that was happening, I was just, like, kept saying, like I could keep like embracing it and opening up because I know I'm safe and I know I'm like guided basically.
Yeah.
So like ever since I kept doing that, that was pretty much like the whole like theme of that trip. And then there was a time when I was mostly in my room, and what I like to do too is listen to music and stuff.
What's your music of choice?
Electronic music.
Okay. You get an artist?
No, I see that. I didn't have, like, anything planned for it, but another thing I like to do when I'm tripping is, like, where does, like, my music come from? Because I feel like the source is the same thing, and we're on the same vibe, so, like, that channel,
so
like,
it's
almost like a radio.
In that moment,
exactly.
It's kind of like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then it started being, like, all this kind of, like, no lyrics, just, like, instrumental, like, electronic music, kind of, like, not disco, but, like, that's my vibe, bro.
Just floating, feeling the body, just,
Yeah, bro. I love that groovy stuff. but I think it was like techno too, a little bit like stuff like that.
Okay.
And then, dude, yeah. And then I just remember there was like some other questions I had, like.
So what happened like after it opened up?
I just went more into like my story of like personal story. Yeah, like
what
who I am.
Yeah.
Kind of like that stuff. And then at the time too, I think there was like some stuff going on with like. I mean, with my mentor at the time, I remember, like, there was just questions I had, and I was, like, trying to get clarity on some stuff, and then, but yeah, it was overall really beautiful, and then I remember there was something about, like, age and, like, connecting with other people, and I was, like, just, like, I think there was something about, like, connection with people, and, like, what certain connections mean, and I remember, I was, like, dang, this is really beautiful, like, I literally went on, like, just a journey about that too. And then, but yeah, it was really beautiful. But I think my favorite part of that night was I went out and sat under the moon, and I just like you could kind of see the clouds a little bit in the sky because it was at night. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but it was like late at night.
Yeah. Oh, like when you started the first trip. Okay.
Yeah, it was late at night.
It was late at night. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, because I like. I didn't want to disturb my family, like, I just wanted to kind of have that, like, space by myself.
Personal space, yeah.
Yeah.
I get you.
So then, yeah, I just went in my backyard, and I just, like, was by my pool, and then just, like, kind of just sitting and looking at the sky, connecting with the moon, too. So that was really nice, like, not really any, like, crazy epiphanies, I don't think, at that time, but I just felt really, like, present, and just, like, I just loved being outside.
Do you remember about how much you took?
For that one?
Yeah.
Maybe around 2 grams for that one.
Okay.
I don't think I sent it because that was one of my first trips after, like, kind of, like, introducing it back into my life, like, tripping and stuff.
That's one thing, too, I want to mention. I'm glad that why I brought it up is because, like, for you to gain benefits or even, like, a small journey with mushrooms, people are like, you don't need a lot. Mm-hmm. Like... I've done a guided mushroom journey, and that I think I took 2 grams as well. And that was more profound as far as an interpersonal, if you want a spiritual experience and connectivity to myself and everything around me than a 3.5, 4 gram trip. Like, and I mean, it has to do, obviously with your environment. So everything else played into it. And I think we had cacao on top of it. So there was like
nice
a couple other like layers to the trip. But that was one of the deepest trips I've ever experienced. Now, I guess I'll talk about a couple of my solo trips. How many solo trips have you had?
I feel like I've had more solo trips on mushrooms than I have, like, around other people. Like, I want to say I've only taken mushrooms with other people 3 times. Then by myself probably...
And the deeper experiences are by yourself. Yeah. That's another thing, too. Why like... And the thing, too, with that is the studies that they're doing about just... deep stress therapy, PTSD, anxiety, depression, all sorts of things. Like, one trip will definitely like shift your perspective, and you won't fall into that deep space of depression because of you having that lasting memory of what happened in that, of this deep connectedness, your anxiety, your stress, that stuff. And that'll last for like, for some people, their whole lives. For some people, a couple of years. Like, for me, myself, I probably... have I tripped this year? Wow. No, I haven't. Which is strange, because I usually like to try and do it once a year. But that's right, because I was planning on using that, and then I let you take it.
Dang,
have a journey.
Dude, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Because I wasn't called to it. It wasn't like something that I was like, no, I need this. you know, I've gotten some good experience out of it. Because like one of my first ever solo trips, was it my first ever solo trip? No, I've had a couple like in my apartment complex, but like I was really young. And like when I was really young and like taking like psychedelics, like there wasn't a lot of intention. There was just, I'm gonna take this and fucking see what I see and feel what I feel and try and be creative and blah blah blah. And granted, I saw a lot of great colors, created some cool music, just like felt some deep things in my mind, like was like really vibing. I really always listened to Plastic Beach by the Gorillaz, that album.
Oh, I don't know that one actually.
Dude, that album, like from start to finish, is great. I also listened to the Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon.
Wow,
That's a great
never
album to
done
listen
that.
on mushrooms.
Yeah, I bet.
I actually use those headphones to listen to it too, the ones you're wearing. That's crazy.
That's cool. No wonder I'm always feeling like I'm tripping. No, it's got that energy.
This is the energy. I was like, I put them on. I'm just like,
in a VR.
So my first ever, I guess like favorite solo mushroom trip. I remember I was driving to, I was taking a trip to Montana. And it was a 16-hour drive, and I drove it straight. And I had, you know, packed a couple of things. And before I left, I remember remembering that like my buddy that moved out had left like frozen chocolate mushrooms in the freezer. So I was like, ooh, I'm gonna take those. So I took those. I didn't know how much was in them. Like I didn't know the dose or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I got there, and I think it was the second night. I had like a fire going, and I had some food. And then I was chilling. I started eating the mushrooms. I'm sitting out. I'm journaling a little bit, like connecting, like watching the fire dance was the coolest part. Because like it was like dancing, and then like it was forming. There was like different colors. So like I could see the red, but then there would be like purple hues and green hues would dance with it, and like blue hues, and it just started to circulate this rainbow. I've told you about this. Remember when I showed you the Avatar, the last Airbender, when him and Zuko go up and with the dragons? Bro, that's what I saw, was like the colors just forming in this fire, and I was like, oh. And I remember I created like a little poem for that because it was just so beautiful. And like then I remember there was these two owls that were hunting these like bats that were, I think, flying around like the light. Because I was in this small campsite up in the mountains where like the population of the town was like 60 people. So it was a really small place. I think it was the only like, luckily they had a gas station. I got so blessed when I got there. I had no idea. I was like, I'm driving up to this place. I'm like, I don't know how close this gas station is. Convenience store. Like, I came here with basically nothing.
Yeah.
They had everything. And so I'm sitting there, and the trip is starting because I'm starting to see the fire, and then I hear these owls like they might have been, I think pretty sure they were owls, and they were flying around. And you could hear them like chirping to each other, like talking to each other as they're hunting one by one.
That's cool.
And then I remember like just listening to them, and then both of them like swooped up and landed right on this branch that was right above my campsite, and just sat there like eating and hanging out. And I remember just like looking at them, like I felt like just deeply connected. Like, how old are you? I just like started like feeling like I could ask them questions. Yeah. How old are you guys? Like, how long you been here?
That's so cool, dude.
I was like, it was just the coolest, the funnest thing to watch. Like, never I felt that connected to watching an animal like hunt and do that. That's why I've always been like interested in falconry. Watching like a falcon go and hunt down like this little rabbit or something.
Damn.
Bring it back to you. And that one, and then after that, it was getting late. I was getting cold, and so I went in the cabin, and I stripped naked and started just dancing in the mirror and just like looking at myself. And I was like, yeah, just like getting in the body, just like having a good time, enjoying myself. I was like, It's like you're alone, and like how often you really do that? Like you get in touch with your body and get in touch with yourself, and like I love being naked. Like being able to have that experience was really fun. So every time I needed like a little self chuckle, I put myself back in that space,
Nice.
and it like just brings me this like, yeah, that was fun. I'm like this. Let's do it. I don't know. It was funny. It was hilarious. I just like I was making myself crack up.
I know. I was gonna say I could see you just like fucking dying.
I was dying.
Bro, like,
People,
having the best time.
My neighbors probably thought I was just this whacked out dude because like I'm alone. Yeah. Like not often do people.
That's
do
cool
that.
though.
Yeah.
Having a good time with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you need to have that. That was one of like the fun experiences. There was 3 major ones, and we'll go into a little bit about kind of what happens too, because I have done a little research. I will say that much. I have done some research on like psilocybin and what it actually does. I'm sure a lot of you might have, if you're seeing this, might have even seen the documentary. What is it? Fantastic Fungi.
Is that on Netflix? I think it's something like that.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. And then there was also one where they actually brought out the therapeutic studies for psilocybin and had like people talking about it. So there's also another one like that. But one of my most favorite trips is I was door dashing. No, I'm not going to talk about my peyote trip.
I was thinking about that actually.
But no,
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah. But no, so I was door dashing and I'm like my last delivery, or I think I was on my last delivery. I heard as I was door dashing, like, okay, this is going to be your last delivery. Go home and, take a break and take the mushroom. Because this is at the time where I was, watching that space, that the like condo, for the business we were doing. And like, I was watching that, holding the fort down. So I had the place to myself. And they were like, go home, take these mushrooms.
Damn.
And I heard that and I was like, bro, it's 9:00 at night. Really? I'm like, yeah, what do you gotta do? No. I was like, you're right. I don't really have like an hourly job I have to go to, like door dashing. Like that was it.
Dang.
And like, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna leave it on. Here's me testing the universe. One thing, if you hear to do something and your intuition feels like a full body yes, don't let your ego get in the way of doubting you and making you like ask for other affirmations and ask for reoccurrences or ask for more validation. Just fucking listen to it. You will have the greatest time of your life. It will allow you to be deeper connected with yourself and your intuition and just feeling that gut feeling of a full body yes and honoring that. And the blessings will come a lot sooner, and you won't miss things, or you won't be waiting so much longer and being disgruntled because I got 4 fucking signs to go do this, but I ignored it because I wanted a 5th one. Mm-hmm. Like how stubborn. Yeah. And I was there. I've been there. I've been there. Now maybe it takes me like 2 signs. Mm-hmm. First one, I'm always like, coincidence.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
I feel that.
It's tough.
It is tough, yeah.
But so I listened and I was like, I was testing at the time. I was like, okay, well, if I don't get any orders by the time I get back to the house, like, okay, you're right. I didn't get any orders by the time I got back to the house. It actually just went dead.
Okay.
So I got back and I don't know how much I had. I don't know the dose that I just know I had a handful of mushrooms.
That's kind of cool though to not know. Like,
I just heard do it all.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I blended up with some orange juice, which I've always done. Not always if I didn't have orange juice handy, but the vitamin C helps it get into your bloodstream a little quicker. So you're not waiting that kind of like 30 minutes or so, 40, depending on the strain, for that kind of tipping over the cup, if you will, or hitting that peak and getting into the real trip and not feeling this anxiety the whole time. So that little space of anxiety as you're coming up is only really like 10, 15 minutes.
Nice.
So I blended into some orange juice, put it in a cup, and I kind of did a similar thing. So I, prayed over it, held it. I turned all the lights off, but a candle, and I just chugged it. And then I laid down in the fetal position, and just waited. And so I didn't have any music playing. I'm just in this dark room with a candle, and I just let everything unfold as it need be. And when I say pray, like one of the best practices I can say, because if you study electromagnetic fields, those kinds of things, we all have them, which means that if you're putting an intention and you're connecting with it, that energy is going to seep into, since mushroom is a living thing, it's going to seep into that. Same thing if you might have seen videos of people that speak into your water, talk into your water, or set the vibration to your water. So by speaking and putting that energy and that intention, it's going to allow that trip to kind of follow that, but asking it for guidance and for understanding, and to kind of take me there. And if you want to just have a good time, put that intention in and just go out and have a good time. Some people like to do this and go be social. I don't. So I'm laying in the fetal position and it's dark. And then I started crying like a newborn baby and just bawling my eyes out. I was crying and crying. I don't know why I was crying. I was just like maybe full of gratitude. I don't necessarily remember, but I was just crying. And I slowly sat up, and I'm not naked. I'm sitting in my underwear. And I sat up and then just hugged myself. Just this big bodied hug, and just sat there like this probably for like 10 minutes. Just feeling the heart, feeling the rhythm, just caring for myself. Acting as like a mother. Giving myself that motherly care and attention and nurturing that I needed, that I deprived myself of for so long. And smiled and felt just this place of huge gratitude. And then I felt as if I was elevating through timelines of my life. From like when I was young, of being a baby and needing to have that nurturing and that coddling, because like I was a baby, I couldn't really do much of that myself. To then coming to like 5 years old to 7 years old, to like slowly starting to form these ideologies of the world and, having little morals and values. And I was looking back on how I was and things I valued then, to, okay, now I'm going to integrate it into this I don't remember how old I was, 25-year-old, I think 25, 26. Yeah, I think I was 26. No, I'm 29. I was somewhere between 25 and 27. I don't remember. Okay. That's a big range. Because it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So probably 26.
Probably 26, yeah.
Okay.
I probably just turned 26 too. It's probably right around it was a little before my birthday. So 25, 26. But anyways, so I'm integrating this part of like, okay, I understand where a lot of these values and morals came from because of the learned patterns and things, and then like integrating it into what do I keep? What am I still valuing from there that may not serve me? And what can I put in that is going to serve me now that I know is true from my experience of these 26 years that I've been on my life? So, back then maybe I never really valued family as much as I do now. because it was always there. It's not something you really think about. You know, you really value as a kid what morals and values you have. Just be a good kid. You know, don't talk back. Clean up after yourself. Some of these things. It was, but also learning to care for yourself. That is one thing that I realized I deprived myself of through a lot of it. I always allowed someone else to care for me. So that was like a big point in that space of like, how are you caring for yourself on these little things? How are you mothering yourself? How are you fathering yourself, right? So that was a big thing that was showing up. And I just started going through my teen years, things that I was doing, and then slowly like just stood up finally, took this big deep breath and just was like, I am me. And just felt this huge space of not feeling like I was missing any part of me at that time. Like I had acknowledged where I was, because my awareness is seeing all this, right? As my body grows older, my awareness doesn't change. So I'm always going to be able to, notice these things. And then I flipped the lights on, and then I really just took off. I started skyrocketing into the Akashic records, and like then each space of the house was like a different portion of like myself. Like I remember being in the living room, and it was just this like vast open like heart space, right? And then I go into the bathroom and I'm staring at myself, and there's this like deep grounding and knowing, being in the mirror of staring yourself and asking, who am I? That like shot me up into this just, who really am I? And I got into this like, I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. Who is it that is sitting there? I'm sure, some of you are philosophers are thinking like that, have come across that line. Who is it that sees, right? Who is it that is aware? Who is it that sees this experience, this reality? So I dove pretty deep into that and trying to ground that down. And it just like, I was laughing and having this beautiful time, because there was these deep awarenesses that just kept coming up for me. That was probably one of my favorites. And that's one thing I really want to do, is guide people through a journey like that. Where you can re-meet yourself on another level. Without having this space of shame, regret, stubbornness, or feeling like I don't know who I am, right? Or I lost myself along the way, or I wish I could be that person again. I used to be so happy. People say that. I used to be so happy, or oh man, I just wish I can go back to that version of myself. When you take that mushroom trip, when you do something like that, and what I found going through that was, it's always there. There's no version of yourself that's not with you in this present moment, right? Because all you are now is you've just kind of layered on top of some things that have happened in your life that you don't feel like that person when you feel like you've changed, which change is a good thing, but you have to sift through that and be like, oh, that person is still there. Let me sift through these things that I imprinted on myself to tell myself that I'm not that person anymore. So what mushroom does is it draws back that veil. When you take the psilocybin mushrooms, actually psilocybin mushrooms. You're not going to get that same big fat from eating portobello or white mushrooms or anything like that.
That's hilarious, bro. I love. Yeah, no, not the same effect.
Not the same. No. The body, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say you do get satisfied.
I will say this though, and for those who have seen the podcast with Paul Stamets and Joe Rogan, try to tune to where he neglects talking about portobello mushrooms.
Was it you? Okay.
It was me that told you that.
You already know where I'm going, huh?
I know exactly where you're going,
like,
and we're just going to pause it there. If you haven't, go check out and go watch Paul Stamets' reaction when Joe Rogan asks him about portobello mushrooms.
Because I remember you changed my whole perspective of it.
I will say I have not eaten portobello mushrooms since I watched that episode. I just don't eat them anymore. I don't know. I personally don't know why. But I know watching his reaction made me not want to eat it anymore.
I was going to say, I can't even remember what you even told me, but I remember being shocked, and I remember being like, what do you mean? Like, I could possibly...
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. You
don't
guys
know.
watch
Big
it
gray
yourself,
area. If someone knows, message it anonymously. But, so what the psilocybin mushrooms do is like, and what I really want to... my next area of study, I guess I gotta get certified to do this. People want to have a certification. I mean, I can guide you through it regardless. But it pulls back the veil and all the like pathways in your brain. Think of it like just giving you a clean slate. So all those ones that used to be blocked, where you're maybe not connecting or maybe not having these talks with your brains not being able to connect because of neurotransmitters or something's going on in your brain as far as chemicals that aren't allowing you to speak fully. What it does is it pulls back all those pathways and goes, here's a brand new slate. And then allows you to, if guided the right way, form new pathways, new ways of thinking, new pathways to get over this anxiety and depression, and allow you to connect the mind in more beneficial ways for your own mental state.
Damn.
So when guided right, one, you can experience self again from that young age onward, to move through those deep blockages when you were maybe 12 that you've repressed, and see it with loving kindness. And everyone gets this fear because of how strong some of those scenarios were. They get this fear that if they take mushrooms, it's going to just exponentially make it worse. False. As long as you have the right guidance. If you try to do it on your own, yeah, you're going to fall into that because you don't have anybody to talk you through this or guide you through this. But if you do it in a safe environment and you talk about it beforehand, like, hey, you know, you have like a consultation beforehand going over some of these things. I'm not just going to randomly meet you and then take you on a trip. That's just doing you a disservice. All right. We would have a couple sessions before, talk about what the experience is going to be like, letting you get rid of kind of really any expectations and things that you've maybe formed in your mind, and get to understand that a little bit, because we want to be on the same level when we get in there. These are also so I've done just my own research on how I would conduct that and how I would want to do that with somebody to get them the most out of it, so they can feel like they are more empowered to be themselves, and when they come out of it, more empowered to make the changes that we had gone through in that mushroom trip to stick. So it's not just, oh, I just had this mushroom trip, it was cool.
I love that you said that, because that's sometimes, I know, especially when I was younger and doing this, like, and feeling these amazing things, I think you put it in, like, a really beautiful way. Because, like, I don't think I was ever really able to quantify what exactly, like happens in the mind to be able to get me to that place, but you had described it perfectly, like, being like, there's parts of myself that I feel that I've lost, and I'm trying to connect to. Me personally, that's expression and like expressing myself. And whenever I'm on mushrooms, I literally feel like there's no barrier there anymore. Like, I feel so connected to my soul and my expression. And I remember, like, that imprint is always there with me. But I'm really glad that you would want to, like, help someone realize that that's not just the mushrooms. Right. That's already inside of you. That's really cool.
All it does is, like, I started thinking about now, all it is a light. It just illuminates everything. It allows you to see it without having judgment towards it. So you can actually bring the love, because when a lot of the times when you get a mirror turned on yourself, and you know this, if you've gone through coaching programs or, therapy, when you get a mirror turned on yourself, you don't want to see it. You deny all of it because you're like, that's not me. What are you talking about? No, I don't know. No. Your mind wants to naturally doubt because it wants you to stay in comfort. It wants you to stay in this place of disbelief. So you continue these lies to yourself. That's doing you a huge disservice.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest, craziest things I think you can go through in like character development is just knowing like your story that you told yourself is a lie.
And we blow it up too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we embellish a lot.
Too. Yeah.
Like the amount of times that we like circulate that story over and over, more things, like how warped it can get.
Oh
like,
yeah. You're playing telephone with yourself.
Yeah.
It's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. When it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you start connecting other things too when you try to make other connections, and then you're like, oh,
your mind wants to. It's weird because like we talk about how powerful we talked about how powerful the mind is. Maybe we should do a podcast on that. Maybe we'll talk about that or mention that when we go into manifestation. But the imagination, and I love this because my mentor Eric, who just went through the yoga teacher training, he brought up a great topic of his imagination. He said that if he spends 80% of his time in this imagination space, which we most all do, of when I'm talking imagination, I'm talking about like thinking what the future looks like, creating things in our head, scenarios. Remember we talked about that back in the day, about creating scenarios. Back in, I think, in the emotions and feelings episode, right? You can create a scenario and you can feel it, right?
Yeah.
That's technically your imagination. For all those that say I don't use my imagination, you're bullshitting yourself.
I know, right? That's what I'm saying.
You're lying.
Yeah.
You use your imagination all the time.
You can't not use your imagination.
Yeah. Just think of it,
you can
think of it like a
suppress it.
children's term. And the SpongeBob episode, imagination. Like, you use it. And he brought up, like, if I'm spending 80% of my time there, I want my imagination to be positive, healthy, something that's going to benefit my life. I want it to be clean. I want it to be neat. I don't want it to be disorganized and in chaos, because when we get into manifestation, that's what my world's going to look like. That's what I'm going to be thinking about. That's what's going to be, I like to call it your diet. That's your diet. It's your whole, I think I said in a song, get that whole pie. Get each of those pieces of the pie right. That's all part of your diet. What you ingest is not just your food. It's what you look at, what you read, what you think about yourself. That's ingesting. You're ingesting that energy. You're radiating that energy. So those people that are dealing with that all the time are radiating this low vibration. The mushrooms is going to help you kind of pull out of that for a moment and be like, just look at the mirror without any judgment. Just look at yourself. Remember that you are always there. All versions of you. And remember that they're also all there in love, and they're always going to be there with you. So learn to accept. Learn to give yourself grace. And when you have a guided mushroom trip, it allows you to do that and to integrate that further. Because I will say, when I took, and this is one thing that I wanted to have when I did the guided mushroom journey. Basically what happened was, you go in there, we did a little cacao ceremony, and there was a group of us, but each of us had like our own separate pad, right? We own, you had our own blankets, pillows, but you had an eye mask. And so I took 2 grams. You had a choice of like 1 to 2 grams in that space. And I was like, well, I'm going to go full balls deep with it, because I've never done that before. And that sounded weird when I did that.
We'll make a little song out of that. We'll snip that together.
Oh gosh. So anyways, so I'm in my like little pod, and they played music, and they did singing bowls, and they, she was singing and he was playing. There was drums. There was just a lot of stuff. I remember going through that, and I want to say that I I felt like I died probably at least 10 times.
Dang.
I was going through this like space of, okay, I felt myself lifting off. I'm just laying there and I felt myself lift off, lift off, lift off, lift off. And then I was gone and I felt myself just shooting through the space and time continuum, seeing just myself on this timeline. I felt myself connecting with everybody in the room, which was wild. And then I felt myself trying to hide from parts of myself, and my body,
Damn.
like, my body went through it too. I went into the fetal position.
Ooh.
And I recognized that, and I was like, open up. Open up.
Yeah.
And I just went back, and I rolled back over and left over my chest, and then I felt this, like, surge. I was like,
damn.
And like, I just let go. It was like this judgment, this like guilt repressed in there. It's like, let that go. It's over with. Accept yourself. Poof. And then I got deeper into it. And again, I felt myself go like this. So another ego death. And I curled up. And I was like, just surrender. Just let go. You're reborn. Just allow it to happen, to be. And I was tensed. And so I pulled myself open again and poof, shot through another filter of myself, another death. And I was just crying, but just loving it.
Yeah.
Just joyful tears of like, oh my gosh.
So in these deaths, I don't know if you'll remember this, but I'm just curious, like, is it in these deaths, are there certain aspects of yourself, maybe like challenges with your ego in the like your daily life that you notice as you're dying, or as these like ego deaths are happening? Like, is it like you're like hitting a wall emotionally and you're saying like, oh, this I know what I'm letting go right now? Like, is it apparent what you're letting go?
Yeah. It's definitely, it's that emotional wall of like, I don't want to look at this part of myself. Like, whether it be like little addictions that I have that like I wanted to deny, or like self-judgment, not feeling good enough. This space of worthiness creeps into me a lot. This space of and these is what was really going through with it. And then it got progressively deeper to where not only was it that, but it was like your purpose in this world.
Those ones, man.
And then it got deeper into this, why do you feel separated from everything? And then it got deeper into, remember who you truly are. Awareness. I went all the way back to where I felt like I was being reborn. Like, I felt like I could see myself coming out of the womb. Like, I went so deep into this trip that I was like, there was colors and shapes, and I feel like I was spiraling through space. And then like this memory of coming out in this light, literally felt this, I saw this light and like crying again. Like, I literally felt like I was able to remember being born.
Holy shit.
And it was fucking wild. I'm sitting here doing the same thing just because I wanted to refuse it. And so I had to peel my body open and receive and just be there with it and like accept that this is it. This is what's happened. And just boom, death. So deep. And I'm gonna talk about this one. And the reason why I wish I had the ability to sit with somebody and talk about this, and why I wanted to formulate going and guiding trips with this in this way, was because I'm probably not the only one who had some deep kind of experience like that. And there's a lot going on. You have the music guiding you and the songs, and there's this vibrance of energy. It wasn't like the trip when I was by myself earlier, where I did everything, where it was a little more calm and it was more controlled because I didn't have all these other sensory things going on.
Can I ask you something real quick? Because I've never done it like in that kind of environment before. So would you feel yourself like, so other people around you doing the trip, like, would you sometimes feel yourself in their energy, like getting intermingled in some ways, like connecting?
In the beginning,
yeah, when you said you felt connected to everybody.
in the beginning, I felt that, and then I felt myself I went way past where everybody's barriers were. Like, I was able to shoot past it all. And where I could feel maybe they hit a plateau. because of my knowledge, and careful, you're moving the...
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My bad.
And so there was this plateau I know that a lot of people had reached, but I with doing that constant space of accepting, and because I'm one that like is curious, I've been curious my whole life and wanted to learn and like experience this side of things. Like when I was a kid, I would sit there and talk to what my perception at the time was God. I would talk to him all the time. Give me signs, bro. Show me you're real. Give me something. Show me something. Like, please, I just need to know. Like, I go to church and all these things, and like I hear all these things, and I feel this connection, but I don't know. I need some proof. I need something. And here I am 27 years later getting answers, which it's a big ask, so I understand. But like I feel like being that young, I set myself up on this trajectory to be in this life path.
Yeah.
Now that I look at it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
It is really cool. And it also makes me think like that's like I always like to ask people about destiny and like stuff like that, cuz like there's no coincidence that you were already had that inside your DNA to want to be like, you know what I mean? Like that was no
that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole nother topic, but I see what you're saying. Like it is interesting.
But it's also at the same time like because did you grow up like Catholic or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's also environment too, but it's also like who you were coming into this life as Josh. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Joshua.
Sorry, yes, Joshua.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm like, bro, I can start calling you Joshua.
I like
Joshua.
I like Joshua too. I don't care for either of them, but really, I like correcting people. Like if they say Joshua, I'll say Josh. Or they say Josh, I'll say Joshua. Or like sometimes, I mean, if I'm like really just like, I'll just be like, whichever one rolls off your tongue. Like if they ask me, what do you like to be called? I'll be like, whichever one rolls off the tongue, you know. But so I wanted to go back to this because all that experience, right? And I want to talk about this as a reason why I say you want to have guidance and you want to have someone there, especially if this is the kind of trip that you're looking for, to connect with yourself. Because when I got out of that, because we were there probably for like 4 or 5 hours, I was sitting there, laying there. I remember one of the guys came over afterwards, and as I'm like coming back awake, and like I'm still feeling a little bit of the effects of the mushrooms, but not as strongly, obviously. And he comes over and he goes, "You were gone." He was like, "I could see it and I could feel it." He was like, "I don't know where you went, but do you compare that?" He was like, "You were just gone." Like, as like, normally they would come over and like, you know, touch you if they feel like you're okay. But I guess he's like, "I just monitored you." He's like, "I wanted to, but I felt like you were just so deep."
Yeah.
And there was I didn't want to pull you because it seemed like you were okay. And I was like, well, I mean, I was. But also I would have liked to have talked about it afterwards. And there's no disrespect because they set up a beautiful ceremony and it was just absolutely everything that I needed. But you want to have someone there because I had to take about a year to process. Like I just finished processing this.
Really?
Yeah.
How long ago was this?
A year.
This was a year ago?
This was last year. I just finished processing what it means to be that connected. And this was what I was telling you about yesterday of how I integrated that, right?
Damn.
This is a trickle from what just happened.
Oh, shit.
This is why you want to have, this is why I was like, if I'm going to do this, you got to have guidance before and after to break it down. Because when I got home, I remember talking to my partner at the time and I was like, I was sitting there and I was like, I kind of just want to be dead. I want to go back to that connection. I want to feel that unconditional love all the time. And I had felt like it was outside of me. And it was a different kind of like wanting to be dead than it was when I was younger. I've had suicide tendencies when I was younger, so that it was totally different. It wasn't like I don't like my reality. It was like I just felt what people call this like source. Like I just felt that and like experienced and merged with it was what it felt like. I want to stay there forever. Let me go back. If that's the only way to go back, then let's go. Right? So I had to pull myself out of this and figure out ways to ground myself while constantly still dealing with that through this whole last year. And I was doing really good until I went to the yoga teacher training. And it just brought it back up stronger. But the beauty and the gratefulness of it, the reason why is because it allowed me to integrate it fully and to understand what it truly means to be connected all the time.
Wow.
And so I'm more empowered, just more loving and just feel at ease and like a huge weight off my shoulders that I know I'm not going to be going down that road anymore. And that was huge because all of last year I felt like, well, this is going to be my whole life. Like, gee, fuck, God, you know.
Like chasing that?
Chasing it. Chasing it. Without really realizing that I was chasing it something outside of me, right? Without rather having that mirror put up like, bro, remember. Remember. Because I didn't have any integrating outside afterwards. Like if I would have had someone talk to me about that, and this goes back to that conversation we had about free will, where if that thought doesn't arise, you can't really talk, you can't speak to it, you can't say to it. So that thought never really occurred to me that I was constantly chasing something and have been. And then I don't need, like, all I'm chasing is something inside of myself. So why am I continuing to chase? So it was profound. It was great. Beautiful experience.
So what I got so many questions. Right?
Okay. Shoot.
So what was that drive then that actually got, what was that drive that drove somebody else to kind of bring that up inside of you? Because you were just talking about free will. I know me and you talked about that a little bit off the show. We don't need to dive into that really, but I was just curious because, like, you were just saying something about, like you wouldn't have had that thought, like, reoccur to you in that way and have that, like, realization about searching for something outside of you. But really, like, what is that drive? Because that's still, like, to me, I would still see that as source, like, connecting with you. But it's because it is you, right? You're still guiding yourself to, like, lead yourself back to yourself in a way. But it had to come from somebody
Here's
else.
the thing. What I'm trying to get at, what I want to get at is, Ram Dass said, we're all just walking each other home. Right? We're all on the same journey of going back home, right? Of what people say, merging back with your creator or going to heaven, whatever you want to call it in your afterlife. We're all here to help ourselves get there, or guide each other to get there, trying to make sense of what's actually happening and survive and just live a life that's going to fulfill us so we can be comfortable on this journey back home to death. So when you find, and what I found in my experience is I'm already home. There's no journey back. There's no having to leave this plane or having to die to get there. Right? So I had to experience death through that to then feel like I needed to die, to then go through this information of what Eric was just kind of re-bringing back into my mind in a healthy state was who I truly am. was awareness, was source always. Because and so that allowed me to take that and connect it with what I had gone through and be like, oh, I don't have to leave. I don't have to go anywhere. It's right here. And then when I took that yin class, I was like, it hit me right away. Like, there's no chasing. There's no needing to go anywhere. There's no needing to kill yourself to have that merge back.
Dude, you know what's crazy is like when the amount of beauty that you can find within not only that moment of the trip, but even like it prolonged itself. I hope I said that right, but like it prolonged itself to like a whole journey of you still seeking. Like, I know you're saying like you don't need to search outside, but even that seeking, that period of seeking like for something deeper and that connection is like you're still like layering on, kind of like when we were talking about like who you are, you keep just adding layers and stuff and depth. But like, I don't know, it's just really cool because like even that trip like reminded me of like I don't know, that feeling that you had that you like you needed to die to be able to be connected to that again. Like, imagine like source, like if you just like think of yourself as source or like one or whatever, like full connectivity, and like remembering that it is who you are, like that, almost like that chase, I see it as like some kind of dance or something, like with like being a human being, like it's like when you like I don't even know, I'm trying to like explain it, but like
it's hard to put in words.
It is, but like when you're like, imagine source like doing that, like if you were always dead, like let's say you were just like nothing or everything, whatever, like you're just the void and you're not actually like, having a human experience or like a dog experience or whatever you are, like I don't think it would ever feel as good to merge with that connection because you're already there. Like I don't know, I just like thought of like if you were always like this void, and it reminds me of that other like phrase that I know me and you've talked about it, like why did like God create like life? Because he wanted to taste chocolate or whatever. Like he wants
to have that they want to be able to experience the physical reality of things. What it's like to be this.
Yeah, and even like experiencing like the remembering, like you know how beautiful it feels as a human being to be reunited with source. Like that feels like nothing else in the world. Like that feels beautiful, and like when you have it and then when you don't have it, it just like feels horrible. Like you feel, that's why people get depressed. That's why, you know what I mean, like why you're so anxious. But I don't know really what I'm trying to say exactly, but I just know it's just beautiful, like to be able to even and then it reminded me of something else too. Like I saw this spiral and I was like, really movement, like as long as we're moving, like energy and like your soul, maybe if you want to think about it in that way too, like particles and atoms and stuff, like if you're moving, that's like what makes you feel good. And that's what I think about music and like frequency and stuff too, and like wide drums and like stuff like that makes me want to literally move your body and like physically express that, because like when you're moving it feels good. And like so anyways, like when you're talking about your trip and like this whole journey that you went on, I just saw this spiral, because really it's like, you know, you're at some point you're gonna be faced with that reality again of like, who am I again? Yeah. Because you're still going deeper. It never ends, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's never gonna end. There's a... Okay. It's never gonna end, but it's gonna take on a different lesson. And I mean, that's a whole different topic, but there's just a lot of that we're spiraling. Yeah, I know. We're not spiraling out, but it's like, this is what mushrooms do. And when you're taking psilocybin mushrooms, this is what it does. Allows you to think deeper about yourself, and just draw that barrier away from self. So, reason why I say at least try it once in your life is because not only afterwards will you just feel this more connected to everyone around you, probably most likely going to bring on more kindness, more understanding, deeper empathy for people going through things, help you out with a little bit of depression, maybe a little bit of PTSD you might be dealing with from some traumas in your past, anxiety, able to help you maybe function better in social situations because you can see everybody as maybe all going through something different, right? Instead of being so connected to our own story, it allows you to break out of that for a moment. So when you're talking about these spirals and these cycles, that's really the next step. And you don't necessarily need mushrooms for that, which is what I found this year also. Like I said, I was like, oh, I didn't even have a mushroom trip this year. And one thing Ram Dass experienced when he went over to find his, going to India, and he met his guru, the Maharaji, he experienced that you don't need mushrooms to get to this state. You don't need any sort of thing to be there. It's helpful for you to see, to understand the potential that's there, because, again, mushrooms is just a plant. And we go back to my story. Oh, it's actually a fungus. If we go back to my story, weed is just a plant in the episode prior to. So all it is to kind of illuminate those things. And, it's really helpful and really nice. But there's ways to reach that without it. I would say it's a good starting point to kind of open the doors to working with yourself in a different way. I did want to touch on a little things because we're freaking deep in here right now, which is beautiful. Because I can go on about psilocybin mushrooms all day. Any other questions about my trip, feel free, or about Nicki's trip. I feel like we might just do one later on down the road. Who knows? But some of my favorite, non-tripping mushrooms. And I'm not gonna go too deep into these because, again, go with your own experience. And I'm stealing this from my mentor because he's just great, and it just allowed me to connect a lot of things. And so that's really it. Be your own fucking scientist, please. Do things to yourself, because everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to have a unique experience. I can only speak to my own personal experiences. Lion's Mane was fantastic. Lion's Mane was like my ADHD pill.
Really?
Yeah, I would take Lion's Mane and be able to sit and focus and kind of have that Adderall feeling.
Wow.
It's not as strong and as if you are trying to compare it, it's going to be a little less subtle than that antsy Adderall feeling. But Lion's Mane's not only going to help you with that focus, but it's going to repair nerves, helps continue to repair nerve damage. Do you remember why am I drawing a blank on her name? I feel terrible.
What did she look like?
She was at the farmer's market. I spent a lot of time helping her sell things. It was a couple years ago. Carl and Janice. Remember Janice?
Oh, yeah.
There we
I remember
go.
you. Yeah, Janice.
So, her story, I'm not going to tell her story, but she had trouble being able to play the piano. And when we were working together, I not only would help her with some things, at her place, and we did some coaching, some readings, but in her Akashic record reading, we talked about some things, and some things came up, and I was like, well, okay, first off, you really need to get back into baths. She goes, I'm deathly afraid of baths. No, can't do baths. And I looked at her, and I was like, I don't care. You need to try it. Do it.
Why was she scared of baths?
I don't know. There was something that she was doing.
Okay.
But, and again, that's her story, so I'm not going to sit here and tell her story. But so, and then I was like, and then she had brought up something with nerves. And so this isn't this is just me understanding mushrooms. I was like, start taking lion's mane in a tincture form. And so she did. She told me she took a bath, and she's like, I'm taking these more frequently. She's like, I love it. She's like,
Wow.
she's like, I feel more rejuvenated. I feel connected. And then she started doing the lion's mane. I told her where she could get it. And I remember she was doing it for a week or two. And she called me and she goes, I can start playing the piano again. She's like, I used to have trouble sitting here and playing the piano. My mind would always want to race, or my fingers would hurt. Mm-hmm. She's like, I can play the piano again. And it brought me to tears because she was just so grateful and just like loved it. So, and if you're consistent with it, lion's mane will help with that. I mean, mushrooms in general help with that. Paul Stamets talks about how like the lower the dose when you're talking about psilocybin, I guess the stronger the potency it actually has, which is interesting that he's done that research.
You talking about for lion's mane or psilocybin?
It's psilocybin. Right, I think I want to say maybe in general, just mushrooms, the lower the dose, but I could be misspoken on that. But yeah. So lion's mane is one of my favorites. I mean, reishi mushrooms, turkey tail mushrooms. What's another one? Shiitake mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms. Those are all beautiful ones as far as immune system goes and like brain function and fog. These are all just like medicinal things that you can just buy at a store and eat, which is great.
You said your favorite was lion's mane?
My favorite is lion's mane. Yeah, it looks like a little white puffball. Looks like a brain almost.
You mentioned you like taking in tincture. Where can you get that?
Almost all sprouts will have. I don't know if the sprouts will have tinctures. I normally have to go to. I mean, if you're in Arizona and you're listening to this, you can go to. God damn! This one place on Mill Avenue, Happy, Horny, Healthy.
Oh, they have
tinctures of lion's mane. But also, there's a place in Mesa that has tinctures of lion's mane. You can also order it on Amazon. Actually, Paul Stamets does it to make a tincture. I actually have his tincture.
Really?
Yeah, you can buy it on Amazon. It's good.
You liked it?
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I put it in tea because I don't like the alcohol flavor. Because they have to cut it with alcohol to extract it. So I put it in tea.
Okay.
And like I'll put like 2 drops and I'll make my tea really strong.
Yeah.
Or I'll put it in coffee.
I'm trying to remember. My sister got me like a powder that I could put in drinks, and then it was a mushroom. I want to say it was reishi.
Was it like mud water?
Mud water. I'm not sure.
That's like a coffee replacement.
No, I don't think
mushrooms.
I don't know. It was just like something you put in you did put it in your water, I think, or you could have put it in any kind of drink. You said you can dissolve it in like a juice or something. But I remember I was trying to figure out how I felt. Sometimes sometimes I think it was the mushroom type that I had, or maybe I was taking it wrong. But I remember feeling more like definitely like aware, but I remember feeling a little anxious. But I think it might have been how much I took.
Yeah.
I might have put too much, like you said, or maybe too little too, like you said. If the lower you take,
because like so it could have been mud water. What would be my guess?
Because it has that stimulation.
Did it have like a cinnamon flavor or chai flavor to it? Anything like that? Dude, it was just like a powder.
It was just a powder.
Okay, interesting. Maybe I could be wrong, but you're still gonna feel that because there's a potency with mushrooms, and I still get that feeling even when I take just the lion's mane. It's like a tickle right here, and then your body kind of gets this like feeling because it's like waking up in a way. Your nervous system
I can see that
waking up in a way, and it's like I've lived in the space of stress. Like a lot of our nervous systems, God forbid, and look up the vagus nerve if you can. My last therapist was telling me about this, and it's just beautiful. But the vagus nerve, a lot of us have it programmed to this stress, fight or flight, like 24/7.
Jeez.
And so, like, when you take the reishi mushrooms, I just watched a little bit about this. I wasn't going to go into it, but since we're talking about it, when you start taking reishi mushrooms and all these other, I mean, lion's mane, and reishi, and there's another one that you can connect. I think it's shiitake. Turkey tail is really good for cancer. Paul Stamets, I think his mom had cancer. He tells a story about it, and she started taking turkey tail and cancer free. But there's like they're all gonna target a lot of your nervous system and also like the cells of the body, because like the way it works is like they want to connect and they outgrow. So like also like if you're planting a garden, using mycelium, like sprinkling a little mycelium in your I don't know, when you dig the hole in the soil, you put a little mycelium and then you plant it and then you put the water. What it's going to do is help feed the roots, but it's also going to allow the roots and like connect it with everything else.
That's crazy.
So like it's gonna like grow here, and the fungus is gonna grow here, but then the fungus is gonna like spread out, and then when it's got on the roots, it's gonna allow the food to pull into the roots to help it grow stronger and larger.
That's really cool. And you could do that for like any plants?
Any plant, anything in the garden.
Wow.
Like Janice, when I was helping her with her garden, mycelium.
Wow.
Shit just took off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where can you get that? I know I'm asking Amazon.
Bro.
All right, because
it's just mycelium powder.
I'm literally getting all this stuff like after we end.
One thing I really want to try, and I keep seeing this on Instagram, is I'm kind of curious about it, and it's kind of actually that mix. This is kind of where I'm understanding this mix and what they do. Started looking into it, but with the reishi, it's these things called Ari gummies. It's like AURI. And it has all of that stuff like concentrated into a gummy form. So you take like 2 gummies a day.
Dang.
And it's supposed to, over time, have those benefits of like the stress reduction, the, aligning, just helping the nervous system. My mind, I feel like my mind's in a pretty good state, but I'd like my body to get there as well. So like I still feel creaks and aches and tension in the hips, and so getting into my yoga practice a lot more has helped. But I also want to do, this is a whole other topic, which is for heavy metals in the body, of doing like a heavy metal detox. Heavy metal detox.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
no, like because of all like the toxic metals we have, like in our water and our food, high lead, high mercury, all these other things like iron. Like I guess, I mean, you could have too much iron in the body, but there's like others metals that are in there that when you have too much, it's really bad for the body. Which also slowly, they're slowly poisoning us with our food. That's really what they mean. And
I didn't know it was metals. I didn't know it was that like compound that was going in your body. I knew there's like, is that you're
they're not like shoving aluminum in your body,
but like shitting foil.
Here's aluminum. Shitting foil. I took a shit and a fucking aluminum foil just came out.
Now I got leftovers.
Yeah.
It's
like I baked some cookies tonight. Wrap my roast.
My roast.
Oh.
Dude.
I think we're going to wrap up.
Yeah. Dang, I learned a lot today, though. That's cool.
I learned a lot, too.
What? You did not. Don't lie to me right now.
All right. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope this was illuminating. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions, if you want to talk about mushrooms, or if you want to talk about anything in general. Shoot us a message. We will respond. Because we have nothing else to do. Just kidding.
We sit here the whole time.
We just wait. We just
next
wait.
Episode.
Everything just set up. We just sit here. We actually get food delivered to us. DoorDash a lot. Let's see. Yeah, and then we just wait. So
we wait for you guys. So if you don't answer, we're whittling away. We're literally just. So please give us some purpose.
Dust in the wind. All you are is dust in the wind. All right. Beautiful. Thanks, you guys, for tuning in. See you next time on Swimming with Sepsey, and cut to music.
Da-na-na-na, da-na.
Can't touch this. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Swimming with Sepsey. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and follow us on our YouTube channel or listen on all platforms or wherever you get your podcasts. Any support is greatly appreciated. You can find us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/swimmingwithsepsey. You can also follow us on Instagram at swimmingwithsepsey. And if something did arise today, maybe you need some clarification or want some help or just need some guidance and don't know where to go, feel free to reach out to me via email, swimmingwithsepsey@gmail.com, or you can find my website at solelyliving.com, where I offer coaching packages, readings, and things of that nature. Again, thank you for tuning in. Very grateful. Namaste. And we'll find you on the next episode of Swimming with Sepsey.